Today on the channel, we have some more autofocus anamorphics. These are from SIRUI. I am currently filming on the 50mm. This is the 100mm. We have both at t1.8. And yeah, these are full frame and anamorphic lenses. So let's see how they do. Now, the cool thing about these obviously is they are really, really small, super lightweight. This is a 100mm full frame anamorphic lens at t1.8. So they're really fast. Obviously, this shot is 50mm at t1.8. And there's a decent amount of depth of field. I'm also filming this on the Lumix S9 in 6K open gate. So that might be why the frame isn't nearly as wide as you might expect it to be. And the reason being that these are 1.33x anamorphic lenses that are sort of more for a 16:9 sensor to then re-stretch that out. So they're not gonna give you crazy kind of anamorphic characteristics necessarily, but the trade-off you're getting obviously is autofocus, and as a solo creator like myself, makes these things a lot more viable for, certain projects like this. Now, for some additional context, I was filming this on the 50mm. I just swapped out for the 100mm, so we're in the exact same spot. Obviously, I moved back a little bit to reframe this, but this is kind of the really, really shallow depth of field you're gonna be able to get out of these things, 100mm at t1.8. All right, so since the most important thing about these is the autofocus, let's do some walking tests, see how this works. This is the 100mm at t1.8. Is it tracking me? Did that work? All right, same spot, same framing with the 50mm. These are both at t1.8. How are we looking? The S9 tracks pretty well, so I would be surprised if this was out of focus. Now, right off the bat, these are really good lenses. They're super sharp. The focus so far has been pretty good. I've seen a little bit of hunting in there that I'm not necessarily super happy about, but I think that can be something that can be dialed in a little bit more within the camera settings, because the camera is doing a good job of tracking. I will also say that while the S9 and the S5 II are like really good at tracking, they're not like the top, like the S1 Mark II, the S1R, some of the Sony cameras like the A1 or the A7R5 or the A7 IV are going to do a little bit better in tracking. So I think that might be a little bit of a part of it, but overall, again, I think that you're pricing this footage and in those things, I think it did really well. But really the biggest thing that this is gonna come down to is going to be, for me at least, the trade-off between the look of anamorphic and the fact that this is giving you a really modern autofocus lens. In all of my testing and in all the things that I've been really interested in, there's not that much of a difference between the look of this lens, even when it's stretched out, even when you're putting it into a squeeze factor, and like a normal spherical lens. The far sides of the image here aren't that funky. You aren't getting like those really, really tall oval bokeh. And in general, it just feels like another just good modern lens. Not to say this is bad or anything, but if you are someone that's, uses a lot of spherical glass and you want a really anamorphic kind of look, I don't necessarily think this is going to really do that for you and kind of fill that void in your filmmaking life. That being said, if you do like a pretty nice clinical-y kind of look, you want a little bit more of that anamorphic feel to things, you want to be able to get an anamorphic flare, and you kind of want to just like ease your way into the anamorphic stuff, these do happen to be really good lenses. Again, it just depends on how far on that like character to clinical spectrum you feel like you really want to fit. And even in this frame, this could be a really funky frame for a lot of lenses, and it's really, really clean. There's not a lot of crazy stuff going on. And so I hate to throw this word around necessarily, but if you're looking for something that's like really, really cinematic or whatever, this probably isn't going to give you that feel. But I do think these are going to work really, really well for like more standard kind of things like corporate gigs or commercial work, things like that. these are gonna do really well. So not to drive this point home necessarily, but I'm picking this frame in particular because you can kind of see the bokeh here and here, and they look pretty spherical, to be honest. I think that I could get a lot of this same look by even putting like a little oval insert onto the front of the lens. I know a lot of people have built on those oval inserts to the back of the lens, and not that the bokeh necessarily is everything about the character of a lens. So again, if you love a really clinical, nice, clean look, these things do a great job. Now for a quick little focus breathing style test, here is pretty darn close to minimum focus. And then here we go. Breathing honestly doesn't look that bad. Obviously it's moving. This is on 50 millimeter. But again, even at the closest distance, these look kind of just more like regular bokeh would be a little bit further out on a spherical lens. So not that I want to hamper and just park on that the entire time, but like you're just not getting that same kind of like distorted, weird look you would normally be expecting out of an anamorphic lens. Now for some further kind of context, in this exact same spot, all I did was move the camera up a little bit to make sure I continued to get those same spots of light over there. This is kind of what we're getting at pretty close to minimum focus as well. Again, you're getting interesting bokeh, but I've definitely seen a lot more character on the very edges of normal lenses, let alone anamorphic ones. So again, if this is something you're into or don't really care as much about necessarily, it looks cool. It just isn't as interesting as I guess I would anticipate something like this being. Now, I've been using these for a couple months now and have taken them pretty much all over the place, used them with my kids, gone up to the mountains, used them around the house, all sorts of stuff. And I think that there's a lot to really like about them. I would say that the biggest limiting factor currently is the fact that you have a 50 millimeter, a 75, and a 100 millimeter. I'm assuming they're gonna expand this at some point because I'm assuming, because these are really good lenses and they're really small and they currently come in L mount and E mount, that they're gonna be fairly popular. And if they are, really hoping they come out with like a 35 or a 28 or something. I get that those are going to be wider anyway, but I think what's really missing in this set currently is a wide angle to kind of actually allow you to do a lot more with these lenses. So after seeing all this footage, what do you think of these things? Are you getting enough interest out of the background of this? Again, this is 100 millimeters at T1.8, which is incredibly shallow. It's gonna give you a really cool look. But ultimately, I think they're really, really, really good lenses. They lack the character that I would kind of hope for out of this kind of thing, but you're getting a really good set of lenses that have really good autofocus. And so it just depends on if that trade-off is right for you. So again, let me know in the comments down below. You can check out my other video about anamorphics up here and here, and I'll see you in one of those.